Good afternoon, Prosper Trading Academy. I got nervous it wasn't going to work there. How is everybody doing today? Please do me a favor, everybody. Hit the like, smash that button, as they said there. Hit the like, follow, subscribe, share the feed, help us reach more traders. Hope everyone's having a good start to your day. Living the dream. I love it. Welcome back, everybody. It was a great weekend until my Patriots got killed last night, but what are you going to do? You can't win them all. It was still a fun weekend. Hope you guys had a good one. For those that don't know, it is Howard. I am the Crypto Room and Penny Room, folks. Great to see you guys. Hope you're having a good start to your day. We are going to talk a little bit about the state of Bitcoin and what the F just happened. Go Seahawks. There you go. Absolutely. Hey, I cannot argue. Their defense played unbelievable. You will not hear any bad comments by me. What a performance by them. So, what happened on Bitcoin? For many of you here, you guys know we had been watching this downturn over the last few months. We have very much been focused in on that 70,075 area as our support, and we blew right through it, exceeded our predictions, went all the way down to 60K, even blew away my favorite IDA's Simpson prediction of 66. So it was the 17% single day decline was the worst we saw since FTX's implosion in November of 2022. We saw massive liquidation cascade triggered everywhere. And the fear and greed factor got to the lowest it has been since June of 2022. So, you want to know what a capitulation looks like? That was the capitulation. As it says here, Thursday violently fell 17%. Historically bad stress for the world's most valuable digital asset. Recovered back to 70, but it has left some long-term holders even feeling unsettled. This comes from Scott's weekend update to all of you. What caused it? Is it just another swing or is it something more important? And more importantly, if you already own it or don't, is this the moment to buy, add, or stay well away? That is, I love it, the trading den. Good afternoon, Aladdin. Good to see you. It crashed down. It went further. That's not a bad one there, BSL Beach Bum. I'm gonna put that Mike Clark. Let's put that by our boy Scott. Let's That's not a bad idea. You don't get a participation unless you hit the like button. I don't know if we can control that though. We don't know who hits the I don't know. It'd be a lot of work for Mike. Do you like the crypto miners like Miss MSTR? Dean, I can definitely answer that towards the end in the question and answer section for sure. So Bitcoin, what happened? Terrible crash. What is good? What did we see for the first time? And I guess I can pull this right over just to show you. What was good is it is the first time we saw a V-shaped recovery in this entire downturn of any real sort since here, right? This is the first 10% recovery we saw in one day. Look at that lovely green candle. Didn't quite make it all the way to a bullishly engulfing candle, but pretty close to that. And our recovery, more importantly, hit the important fib level that we look for, the golden ratio on a retracement. And, sort of to me, this is the capitulation. And more importantly than the charts, quite honestly, when it comes to this, for those that have been watching here on Market Minds or in my room, no, we've been talking about a divergence, a very bad bearish divergence that has been in the market. And it was where you see this Bitcoin long short ratio towards the top right hand side of your screen. And what we had seen is even since October, when we fell from our highs of 126 down below the 100 level. What wasn't happening is we were not seeing the capitulation or the removal of long positions from the perpetual future market. And this thing was almost 3-to-1 longs versus shorts, even when it came all the way down to 70K. So from 126 to 70K, what we saw was, even in the worst of what you would say is a drawdown, that the market was giving fuel to market makers, whales, institutions, whatever it may be, to just play whack-a-mole. Every time we'd get a pop, they would take a look at that little long short ratio and say, look at these idiots. We've just dropped this price, 25%, and they keep on buying at every opportunity. And that's what was happening. And what we saw was there was some huge, and you really see it by this top trader long short down here at the bottom positions. And what we had is we had a lot of whales who were long, and they were long from the 90s, from the hundreds in the perpetual futures, who were willing to get rid of their position. They were saying, hey, it might hurt, it might suck, I might have a lot of unrealized losses, but Bitcoin's going back to 125 soon enough, and I'll be at profit, and I'm just going to hold on. Well, this finally wiped them away. And we are at a level where we're back to, it is just as likely to go up as down based upon the on-chain metrics, based upon the total amount of open interest that we have in the market, all these things. Before we go any further, let me give you the word of the day to get into there. It is my nickname, Hondo, Hondo. Scott had put, I can't believe he changed it for me. He had put the famous actor John Wayne, thinking that maybe I had somehow been named, or I gave it a nickname after being such a cowboy that I am. No, it's not the case. Growing up in Boston and being a more of an effort player than a talent player when it came to basketball, Hondo was the nickname I was given. And like I said, growing up, that wasn't necessarily the nickname you wanted, because it usually meant in the city of Boston that you had more hustle than you had actual ability, which I think explains my whole life. So that is my nickname. That is how you get on there. So the question is, what are institutional investors? Did they cause the sell-off? Yes, they did. And we know they did. And what I was saying is it was just an easy whack-a-mole. What these institutions were doing is they were watching, and on every move up, they would watch the leverage. They would watch this open interest, all the things I was just showing you on CoinGlass. And when it got to a point that it was fairly easy to see, they would just simply enter their shorts and cause the next level of liquidations. Okay. They absolutely caused this downturn. It was not retail. What it was, that final drop, that, billions in liquidations that happened there. I absolutely does. You are very true there, Trading Den. Top Gun has one too. And what happened? We dropped 17%, worst drawdown, but we saw an immediate 10.6% bounce from the lows. Not only did we see that bounce, we saw that bounce almost immediately. It wasn't one of those, it comes down to 60, it trades sideways, it waits for consolidation, and then it takes off. It was the opposite, right? It hit 60, and from 60, it went back to about 66 in a matter of an hour, maybe. Okay. We saw $2.6 billion in liquidations. So what did it take to get those people I just talked to close those perpetual future trades? It took $2.6 billion in liquidations. And the market showed extreme fear, hitting its lowest level on fear and greed since 2022 at that time. So where are we, and what are we looking at now? We have seen our capitulation, And right after it, or the next morning, this is what went out to the crypto crew, sort of saying, hey, where are we and where are we now? What you will see is we have regained every one of the technical important resistance zones above us. We are still, in my opinion, challenging 70 to 71. We broke through it briefly. We just tried to re-challenge it, but that is basically the last level of resistance that we need to break to really show that this is a true technical bottom. Okay. Will we revisit lower levels? When I say lower, back down towards that 60, we absolutely will. Again, in my rooms today, they got a list of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, the levels that we're looking at for that. Oh, and Ross, I saw you were here. Based upon your question the other day, I made a much more extensive list. Make sure you check in to the crypto room today to grab those sheets. I will email them out. But you were the one that prompted me into that, so I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. We have seen the recovery come in the right way, but what I will also point out, though, is I got to find my coin glass again. What we still have is, while Bitcoin is there, some of the alts are still not quite all the way where we need them. If you look here, we still see a little bit more of an imbalance, especially amongst some of the longer traders. This is getting better by the day. We're getting closer to where we want to be, but we are still over 2-to-1 long, over 2.28 in the Ethereum top traders. So this is still giving us a little bit of an issue here that we have to worry about. And when we get to the other alts, some of them get even worse. Solana, 3-to-1 still longs. So we still have different levels. Bitcoin, to me, hit its capitulation. We needed all the leverage we needed to clear it out, so it got cleared out. All of the things you want to look at for a start of a recovery are sort of happening. And again, I'm not saying we're headed back to 125 anytime soon. What I'm saying is our path of least resistance is now turned from the downside, in my opinion, on Bitcoin to at least staying at our current levels and starting to constructively take our way back up. Okay. That is the case there. Some of the others not quite there yet, and they might need another beatdown before it happens. And I'll be very clear about that. Is the alts, and it's not just these two I just picked. It's as if you keep on going down them, you'll see that it tends to be across most of them. Where the further you go down the alts, the further this is still a problem. So we got to be careful of that. And that does still allow more downside for some of the alts versus Bitcoin. But for Bitcoin, and hopefully for the Bitcoin mining companies, for the person who asked that earlier, we can start to be a spot where you can look for long-term accumulation again. Whereas we were only scalping in our room, now we're sort of talking more about what does long-term accumulation look like? What are the levels? How are we going to set ourselves up for success through the next bull run? So that's where we sort of moved from to here. And as Scott put in here, what we finally saw, right, was a V-shaped recovery versus a sort of hold, a hold on for dear, a drop, a small bounce, and a hold on for dear life. We saw a violent V-shaped recovery, and that did it in hours, not in days. So those are all the things that we needed to see for things to look up. That is that. I'm trying to think if there's, I'm a little short time-wise today. Normally I have lots to talk about, but that really levels it out, what we're sort of looking at. I can go a little bit more into what I'm looking at on Coinbase, or what we're seeing in between Bitcoin and the others. That would probably be good. And what we're seeing in general, where I think Bitcoin is showing better recovery, if we look at the ratio of spot volume, the amount of Bitcoin that's trading on the spot markets versus the futures markets, we've been holding up there at least 10% or more. that's the bare minimum we need to see. What we have seen on a lot of the alts again is that is not the case. You can see 56 billion in futures volume on Ethereum, less than 4 billion on spot volume. And again, I hate doing this without looking at it first. Luckily, they all worked out. Same thing on Solana, less than $1 billion in spot volume versus 12 million in futures volume. So again, Bitcoin always drives the bus in crypto. It always leads us to the direction that the market will start to move. But right now, it's Bitcoin that has sort of set all of the right metrics you need to see. The alts are still a little bit of a laggard there. We need to see spot volume pick up. We need for open interest to remain, at not elevated levels so that leverage doesn't pick up too much. And then we can see a proper recovery. And on Bitcoin, we started. And then somebody asked about MSTR. MSTR, man, is a really tough one because of the fact that it has a separate component where there are definite institutions that are shorting MSTR and long Bitcoin as a position. So if you don't know, there is, and I think it was Tom Lee that started this whole thing off, there is a lot of institutions that are short MSTR and long Bitcoin and using that as a hedge. And that the downside they've seen on MSTR is more rapid than Bitcoin's. So they're using that as a hedge until that breaks. It's still a problem for MSTR. For all of the Bitcoin mining companies, this should be the area where they start to recover. And this is, again, also the part where you start to look at long-term accumulations for those riots and Maras and some of those there. So, yeah, that is what we're looking at. Okay. Anybody, any other questions for me before we spin the wheel here? And I'm sorry I didn't go to my Slack to pull that up. I do see Mike has it ready for me. The wheel is, whoa, that is a big wheel. We are loaded up to the top here. Are we ready to go? Drum roll, please. Okay, let's get a winner chicken dinner. Come on, baby. Who's it gonna be? Ed White from the Penny Room. Ed, I hope you are here. Congratulations. The first time I've had one of my clients actually win here that I know offhand. Ed White, please say hello that you're here. And you probably listened to me in the other room, in this one. Come on, Ed. Steve, how are you doing, my man? Hope you're well. Ed White, do you hear us? Let me make sure he's not answering in the other room. Nope. Ed. Oh, Aladdin, you can't take you anywhere. It is. It is. ONDS is on a rush again. Ed, oh no. Ed, we got about 15 seconds and then I gotta redo it. Come on, man. Ed, are you here? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Spin again. Here we go. Todd Lindbergh in the trading den. How'd you get on there twice? Dude, is Todd here? Todd, you're almost always here. Are you here, Todd? This can be like one of the, there he is. Todd, congratulations. Send us an email at Prosper Swag. Ed, you are here. Ed, I'll make sure you get one too, Ed. Ed, make sure you send your size also. I'll make sure you get one. So, Ed, make sure you also respond. Okay, everybody. Mike, you want to take us out of here? Thank you so much, everybody. And Mike, put in both, and I'll make sure with Scott it's good. You got it. You made it, Ed. You're in. You're in. I got you, my man. And I said, no, not yet, Steven. We'll get you soon. Everybody, have a fantastic day. And we will see you next time here on Market Minds. Take it away, Mike.